YouTube or in the Zencaster? Oh, your OBS.
Parenthood is full of surprises, but Progressive keeps you covered.
Sure.
This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, 'cause this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Hi, friends. Welcome to this week's pod. This is show for the week of January 13th, 2025. And my live C transition didn't work this week, Phil, so I have to look into that. But anyway, welcome to this week's live show. How are you, sir, this week?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right. How are you?
I'm fine. So this is the first time I ever asked you how you doing in the beginning of the show. So how about that? We got a great show today. We're going to talk about the arrival of the water park perk. That was one of our DBC engagements. I think it's a really good conversation to be having because everybody seems to be having it this week. And then we've got construction. We've got lots of construction, Phil. So we're going to you found a really good post by a gentleman by the name of Andrew25 on the WDW Magic forums that kind of spreadsheeted it all up, so you're going to go over that and explain it to me. And we're going to play a game with it, I think. We're going to have a predictive game. And then top 3, bottom 3 World Showcase pavilions. So that should be interesting. And we've got, if I looked correctly, we have different categories for that, right, Phil? That we're gonna fill out for that, I think, or we just going strict
like
top 3?
Week, just whatever you feel is however you want to rank them. What are your top 3 and bottom 3, and my top 3 and your bottom 3?
We're just gonna go for it at that point.
Similar to what we did last week with bathrooms, we're just expanding a little bit beyond bathrooms to entire pavilions now.
Oh, look at that. We got Matt watching live today for the first time. Thanks, Matt, for joining us. And, of course, make sure you get your daily news with the Diz Happenings podcast every morning. I think 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Madman does it every day.
I wake up in the morning when I check, so it's early.
They're quite I have to apologize. I did not get to today's episode. So he did some work on the intro that I suggested. So I got to listen to that. I got to do him a solid. Anyway, Phil, reminder for everybody, please join our Discord server if you enjoy watching this show. I got to get framed up here. I'm live. That's right. So I have to get working. Anyway, join us on Discord anytime. Join the conversation. And then also we've got everything on our social media at the DBC Pod. So please join. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, make sure you do the like and subscribe. We appreciate that very much. And Phil, this is your thing. And I'm glad Matt's here. We get to make fun of him because he wanted to get rid of the water park perk. But he might be changing his tune here a little bit. What's this all about?
Yeah, so it was announced last year, and at least for me, I kind of forgot about it until we hit 2025, because it was announced last year for starting in 2025 for people that on your arrival day, when you're staying on property at Disney World, you get an added perk, and there's always been a lot of talk about perks going away, which perks are back. They came up with a new one where on your arrival day, you get free complimentary, I shouldn't say free because it's included, complimentary access to whichever of the water parks is open. So either Typhoon Lagoon or Blizzard Beach.
Right.
It can only be used on your arrival day, but it's, for your whole family access to the park. And it got a little bit of debate because people are like, well, I mean, I don't know how many people go to the water parks as it is, and then arrival days can kind of be stressful. So it kind of felt like, okay, it's great you have this, but there's so much going on arrival day. I'm not thinking about getting to a water park and stuff. But got us kind of thinking like, what are the scenarios that makes this a little bit more worthwhile, like for people that might take advantage of it, and also sort of what is the value of it? And I looked up, I didn't know what the current price was. Currently, a single day water park ticket is $74 for adults, $68 for kids.
Yep.
You can do an upgrade to your tickets for $74.55 if you want to do the water park and sports upgrade, or if you have an annual pass for the year, it's $99 on top. So just thinking about it, my upcoming trips, we have 2 people, so that would be $148 plus tax value. My entire family was going, that would be $370 plus tax. So if you could take advantage of it, I think there's some real value in there, in some ways more than, they used to give you the cheap magic bands or something like that. Like if you can use this, there's some serious savings there. But I don't know. I've never even taken the kids to a water park. I've done them when I was younger. My kids haven't gone though. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? Is this something that when you remembered that it was happening, where you're like, oh yeah, that's something I want to take advantage of, or I'll never do that, so it doesn't really matter to me?
Well, I mean, we're a family of swimmers, right? So we've been to water parks. We did Great Wolf Lodge for the last couple of years, where we last year I think we did like 3 days in the hotel for the kids' birthdays. Pricey, but like they have a lot of fun. Have I ever done one at Disney? No, because the idea of going to a water park when the most expensive place in America is like, I could do that back home pretty easily because we have access to some of those things around here. So I never really considered it on like a normal vacation. But when it was announced in 2025, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I don't know if we'll take advantage of it, but maybe we could fit it in. And then, honestly, I totally forgot about the perk. And when it was like 2025 is coming around, the water parks. I'm like, wasn't that already in effect? Because I think didn't I hear about that like almost a year ago or something?
Yeah, it was.
They announced it pretty early last year. So yeah, to answer your question, I am definitely taking advantage of it when we go down this summer for our 2025 trip, because 2 years ago, if you remember from my trip report, we drove down. We stayed at like a Silver Springs hotel. It was all off property, and that just we went to Disney Springs, but I was able to recover from like the 20-hour drive to get down there, and then wake up fresh, and then like that is our check-in day, and off we go. Last year we didn't do that. We drove down, and we got there around 1:00 in on our check-in day, and I was just dead right for the rest of the day. Yeah. So it wasn't a really magical start to my vacation because I was a zombie. So this year we're going to go back to driving down early, and because of that, we could wake up bright and early and go to the water parks. So we're already there on property, and I think we're definitely taking advantage of it. I think the kids will like it. I hope. Anyway, we watched videos of it. Yeah, no, I think that was one idea that some people talked about, like even saying like, if I wasn't planning to do that, would it be worthwhile to go down the day before, stay at an offsite hotel? Like I said, for our families, you could probably find a hotel for less than $370, and like that's the value of the water park. So definitely our plan is to take advantage of it. I know when I'm going down with my daughter in July, we're going to try to get in early enough that we can take advantage of it. One thing that's good in the summer, the parks are open till at least 7 or 8. So even if you get there at noon, 2 p.m., something like that, if you don't even get to the water park until 3 or 4, you still get a couple hours that are just bonus hours, right? So you're not paying for it. And then the other thing to keep in mind, it's kind of viewed, or I've been wording it as on your arrival day, but it's really your check-in day. And so if you're doing a split stay, it would count for the check-in day of your second part of your stay that you're already down there. And you could go twice if you're staying at 2 Disney properties, right? Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And what my wife and I might do, because we're hopefully going to go down and do a couple days at Universal first, and then transfer over to Disney. So that should be easy to do on our transfer day when we check into the hotel in Disney and take forward. So both my wife's looking forward to it. My daughter, she like said, we've never gone. She's excited about it. I think it'll be Typhoon Lagoon that should be open for there. So I've been to both of them once. They're different, but they're both well themed and kind of fun. Just feels very vacation-y and stuff like that. So we're looking forward to it. But it's kind of interesting that I think at first a lot of people are almost like tossing it away. But the more you thought about it and like ways to take advantage of it, and like I said, even if you go there and you're tired from your drive, but you're sitting in a lounge chair with an adult beverage while there's like the kids are going on water slides, it's not like the worst thing. No. It's kind of like almost think of, like a lot of people will do pool time or something at the resort. It's sort of like an amped up version of going to the pool. If you think about it like that, it's not too bad. The one thing, and somebody else, I got to give them credit on the Discord mentioned, there aren't necessarily direct buses depending on where you're staying to the water parks if you're staying. So it might be worth investing in an Uber or something like that to get you over a little bit more directly. But it's a short distance, so it's a minimal cost.
I think the only hurdle is like you need to be access to bathing suits and being able to feel comfortable changing when you're at the resort.
Yeah.
Maybe like the last couple of times I've gone down in the last 2 years, there's been 3 trips. Our room has been ready at like 9:00 in the morning. Like, so there's been zero issue of like if we get there and we could check in and it's like, oh, your room's ready at 9, we can easily get our bathing suits on, take our time. But if your room technically is not supposed to be ready till 4:00, I think.
4 o'clock, I think is
and if it's 4:00, then you're changing in the lobby bathroom, or you're leaving luggage and you're pulling through and you're bringing it in a bag and you're changing at the water park, and then you have to pay what, like $15, I think, for like the lockers or something else like that. I mean, there's some logistics involved, right? That don't make it easy.
That's a good thought, though. Like on especially if it's your true travel day, you might want to dedicate one person's backpack as like the swimwear backpack or something like that, because then you can leave everything at the resort and just take that bag with you and change there.
Yeah, you got to plan for it. Matt has a good point in chat where like it's not really realistic in December or January. That's true. Last year when we went down in December, it was cold. We needed jackets and sweatpants and sweatshirts for everything. And there's closures obviously at this point of the year. So I mean that's fine, and that's a good point. So yeah, cold weather is a huge question. Also, Phil, I want to bring up an unrelated point before we get to the next part of this. Is if you recall, this podcast used to be belong to Vikes Queen, and I doubt she's watching right now because the Vikings are playing. So we're competing against the NFL playoffs tonight. So
if anybody can take the NFL ratings down, I'm sure it's our
yes, it's definitely going to be us for sure. So shout out to her. Hopefully her team does well tonight. So. There's pros and cons, but what I wanted to bring up is because Matt made a good point, right? This perk's not for everybody. Some people don't like being in bathing suits. Some people don't like swimming. Some people can't swim. Some people are just downright tired and they're check-in day and they just kind of want to relax. Some people have a tradition of going to Disney Springs and shopping and going to dinner, so it doesn't fit in. Yep. So, which is fine. I think there should be plenty of perks that plenty of people can take advantage of. And I wanted to ask you, what other perks would you like to see for just the check-in day, right? I mean, we can come up with a million perks for our whole stay, but like for your check-in day, if you can't take advantage of water parks, what are other things that maybe Disney could provide that could entice you to book a trip?
Yeah, I mean, there's other little things, right? They could give you like to play miniature golf or maybe passes to the movies or something like that.
Well, they've done miniature golf too. That exists, right? You get passes for that.
One thing which probably would be more of a promotion or something like that, if they gave you like a dining gift card or a dining credit or something like that. So just kind of say like your first meal at Disney's on us or something like that. I don't know. I'm trying to think of things that are kind of realistic for the opening day. I mean, it'd be nice if they gave you like a free after 4 ticket.
See, that was my idea. Like and you said the same time as Frank at 22 in chat.
Really?
That was my thing. It was just like, I think you're allowed to go to a park, a non-Magic Kingdom park, because they don't want people even crowding more for like Happily Ever After. Hopefully that changes with Villains Land in 5 years. But going into Hollywood Studios, going into Epcot, that sort of thing, I think would be very valuable to a lot of guests. Maybe they tie it to a dining promotion, like you get into the park, but you have to go eat somewhere in the park and maybe get a meal there. I don't know how they can enforce that, but
probably at least if you're doing that, you definitely probably would need to do for stays that are 4 days or longer or something like that.
Yeah.
Because otherwise people will resort hop every day.
Every day, yeah, just get free entry.
Get into a park, free entry every day.
Yeah, I mean, like let's say stays for 4 days or more. You get into maybe you could do something like how. When you stay at deluxe extra evening hours where it's like on Mondays it's Epcot and like whatever. So maybe the opening perk rotates every single day and that's the park you get into. So maybe when they can anticipate a low population Magic Kingdom day, maybe they can offer that as a bonus every once in a while or something like that. That allows them to kind of rotate them around and whatever. So like, hey, you want to go to Epcot tonight for free? Or maybe it's the day of. It's like, today's the Epcot day, surprise, and you can go in if you really want to. So I think that'd be cool.
You know, we've talked about it before, like what could they do with ticket promotions, where I think Universal has it now, where if you buy 2 days, you get 2 days free. Maybe they could even do that with a package, right?
Oh,
so
yeah, that's a good point.
You're getting a room and you get 2 or 3 day tickets, then you get the arrival day, any park you want, arrival days included for free or something like that.
Oh, now we're cooking, right? So how about we do this? So like, remember, I always complain or point out that it used to be your 4th or 5th, I can't remember what it is. I think it was your 5th ticket of a package was significantly cheaper. So like adding an extra day was an extra $100 for the whole family to go an extra day type of thing. Now it's like the 7th day gets cheaper rather. So everything's more expensive. But if you book a package of 5 or more tickets or something, right? Or whatever the number might be, it has to be at least, I think, 5. You get a half day free.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have the IT to like say like your tickets. I guess so. If it's
or even
like
if they just give you that
something.
arrival day for included. I mean, if you get 4 days, you get a 5th day ticket free. And because a lot of people aren't going to buy a ticket for that day, or they don't get full value out of it. I don't know.
I'm just trying to figure out if they're
a nice little park.
Well, I mean, I think that'd be fantastic. I just don't know if their IT system can differentiate the. We don't want them like you showing up using your free ticket to get into like Epcot. It takes one of your takes the wrong one. And the guest services are going to be crazy on that point. Yeah. But I think there should be more parks. Matt's a big fan of airport transportation. I don't think Disney's really going to get into that game again. I think I forget who it was. Some podcast brought out like. There's so much in the space now from like with Ubers and Lyfts and other companies that Disney's really competing for that, and people aren't using it because people are like, I could take the bus for free, or I could spend $50 to go directly to my hotel within 10 minutes rather than waiting on a bus and everything else.
They introduced that to try to get more people to stay on property and sell it, like the bubble, and I think people know that, and they're going to stay on property anyway, whether you have that service or not. You know, kind of reminds me of the grocery stores near us used to give you like a nickel off for every reusable bag you brought, and then they stopped doing it because they were like, well, everyone who's going to bring the bags is doing it now, and if they're not doing it, the nickel's not going to make them do it. And I kind of feel like they might be that way too. It's like, well, everyone who was coming because of my Disney Magical Express is already going to stay on property anyway, so we're not going to bother offering it. And like you said, you know, we could save a little money by doing one of the buses, but the cars that go directly are it's so much more efficient and stuff, especially if you're more than like 1 or 2 people.
I mean, if I don't think my family's really flying down ever again, only because of the cost associated with flying 5 people. But if I were ever to do that, like let's say Mears is what, like $80 for your family. I forget what it comes out to.
Yeah, at least like that. Yeah,
$80-$90 for a family of 4 or 5. I can't remember exactly. But I'd rather spend that much money because you can take an Uber for an Uber XL for like usually $50 to $70 for your whole family.
I mean, unless it's some super prime time or extra charge or something like that. Yeah, we've done Uber the last few times and it's been like $35 to $45 or something like that. So it's just.
Yep. Yeah. I'm with that. All right. So water parks and perks, I think Disney should add more of that type of stuff just to kind of differentiate them. And typically some of that stuff is stuff that they can like honestly give away for free and it doesn't cost them anything, assuming that the water parks aren't really crowded type of thing.
I'm assuming that's what it is that they're realizing that they're not as crowded and that this is a perk they can afford to give away.
So you wrote this whole thing up about construction timelines and predicting them and all this other stuff. We have charts and we're gonna put some predictions down here. How do you want to structure this? Because your first line is Dinorama, etc. Surprisingly, Big Thunder Mountain is starting up super quick. So I don't know how you wanted to put it. I don't want to step on any toes. So how do you want to parcel that stuff together?
So I put a topic in here that I'm calling predicting the construction timeline, because Disney is going fast and furious with this construction, and we know there's going to be a lot of construction all around property for the next number of years. And I thought it'd be interesting to get our predictions for like when all the different elements are going to start, when they're going to be finished. And the other way I was thinking about it is like, I was kind of taking your family, you're doing your family vacation in July.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm a family that every July we do our annual vacation, like what is going to be open or closed for them each, July this year, July next year, July 27, July 20, like that type of.
Sure. Yep.
Just to kind of say, like, okay, if I'm going July every year,
what's going to be available?
Is there going to be something new each year? That sort of thing.
Good point.
So, So like I mentioned, so Dinorama is closed officially today. They put up some of those temporary barriers and that sort of thing.
Those are really. I mean, I was expecting walls. They were just like those planters with like fake
I'm
fake
assuming
plants.
This is just like the for the near term.
They're
so
on
people
wheels.
don't go near them or something like that, and there'll be like more official things coming up after that. But I kind of said, okay, well, here's everything that we know so far. So we know that Disney said that everything that was announced with it at D23 event last year is going to be open within 5 years of the announcement, which puts us to 2029.
Okay.
And they have said that Tropical Americas will be open in 2027. Obviously, we don't know when within that year.
Mm-hmm.
They said Dinosaur is going to be open throughout 2025. We know Big Thunder Mountain is going to be closed into 2026. I saw there was a permit that had an end date of March of 26, but permits give or take, but we know it's going to be sometime into 2026. And they've said for Muppet Vision 3D and Rock and Roller Coaster, you will have some time to visit and experience them again, but they didn't give them any kind of immediate, specific timeline. So we don't know if that's a month, 6 months, a year, or whatever. So I kind of made a chart, like you said, of all the different attractions and areas. And I said, well, we'll make our predictions for when they will close, when they will open, and then if we think that'll mean that they'll be open in July of each of those years.
Okay.
So I started with Test Track 3.0. We know it's obviously currently closed. They said it's going to open in late summer 2025. I'm assuming that won't be by July.
Unfortunately, no. I was hoping that we'd get to, because it sounded like it might be open for like the summer season next year.
Yeah.
And then there was a little message saying late 2025, but then they changed it to late summer 2025.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing like August into September, like Labor Day is probably.
Yeah. Well, I'm hopeful that I'm thinking maybe that's what they try to get it open for people that are down there for Destination D23, but we'll see. But that's the end of August, like right around Labor Day.
I bet you when I go down there, they'll be doing previews.
They could be, for sure. Yeah. So I said July 2025. Obviously, no. And then July next year and beyond.
That's an easy one.
Yeah, that's right. Started off with an easy one. The next one is Big Thunder, which is currently closed. We know it's going to open in 2026. So it's not going to be open this July. But when do you think it'll be open in 2026? Do you think it's going to be like first quarter or like, because that'll be, just over a year?
That is, if Matt's still listening, I think that's a great before or after date for is July, because Tiana's was a year and a half. Right, roughly, like was it January, February of the first year, all the way up through July? So that was basically almost the same timeline. I don't think it's going to be open in July of 26, right?
Okay, so you think it's going to be more like now 18-month plus?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking fall, right? Matt in chat says late 2026. He's being ambiguous as Disney on that one. I think July, August would be a good like under-over point, right? I think the track, I mean, like, this is what I wanted to bring up at the top of the segment. Like, literally the day after it closed, they were hauling track out of that thing, right? Like, they just started. Like, they didn't, like, slowly close it down, pick up some stuff. Oh, there's a piece of track here, piece of track there. That crane was busy, right?
Yeah.
So I think they're motivated to get the track in to get that crane out of the skyline as soon as possible. I have no idea how long retracks take. Like, typically you can install like a bare steel roller coaster in like 6 to 8 months, right? I think, and get it tested and going, that type of thing. This is a little bit more difficult because they're chopping around
they got to work around the mountain and like I know.
So
sorry to ruin the magic. They're not actual railroad.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's at minimum. I think your minimum 14 months just to get the track in. Okay. Then you're probably looking at another 2 to 3 months of testing for like safety testing because it is a brand new track. It's not like Tiana's where you're using the existing infrastructure. It's like brand new, right? So they got to set that in. And then it's all the finalizing of all the theming and stuff like that. So I could see this going for the next 16 to 18 months. I don't think they want it closed that long, but I think also potentially – Do you think because I think we'll see some closures of Rivers of America at some point, and I know you. Do you have that in your chart here?
I have.
You do. Yes, let's go with that.
So I know that's obviously a big part of it.
I think that ties in to a lot of that
Matt's
stuff.
mentioned that, and Frank has mentioned it online. Are they going to do other upgrades too? I think that's sort of the big question. There are speculations they're at least going to add the explosion scene that Disneyland has on the last uphill. If they're going to do other upgrades, we don't know. But then also, how much other infrastructure are they doing while it's closed?
Yeah.
Obviously, it being closed makes it easier to get equipment in and out and all that sort of stuff. So,
well, I think
not, so long as it's short, it's not just a retrack.
Right. No, there's definitely retheming, because I think the day that it closed down, somebody, I think it was Blog Mickey, recorded the railroad audio as you're passing through Frontierland, and it said it will come back. I forget the exact words. It will come back with some new bangs or some new something. Yeah. Let's see. There was comes back with more of just not more track, right? So they're going to plus it up. So, but like Matt mentioned in chat, I think there's definitely, they're going to use that opportunity to kickstart Rivers of New Cars Land and all that other type of stuff. And if there's delays here, that might impact delays there. They might keep it closed longer to allow some other, I think they're closely tied. So I think that might impact things. So I would guess longer, just be on the safe side than July for sure.
The only thing I was wondering was if they are going to try to, no pun intended, fast track it to get it done.
They might.
Because I was also wondering about maintenance for Tiana's, because I know it's Splash that went down kind of in the winter for just general maintenance every year. They're obviously not doing that for Tiana's this year since it just opened. But are they going to want to go like 2.5 years or whatever without taking it down at all? And would they be willing to take it down while Big Thunder is still down? So
yeah, true.
I didn't know if they might try to get it done a little, but yeah. So I think the big question is if they're going to do more of that. But I guess, if somebody's booking a trip today for July 2026, you're not guaranteed at a minimum. You're not guaranteed to have Big Thunder open, I would say.
I think that's you might see cast member previews in like August, September timeframe next year.
Okay.
I think that's a maybe. I think it's gonna be close, but I doubt it's gonna be July unless something else happens where they need to accelerate it. New CEO comes in, it's like, get this open right away, work all around the clock, whatever, right? Something. We'll see.
Right. So next element is 2 parts with Tropical Americas coming. Obviously, the closure is being done in 2 phases. The Dinorama area is currently closed already. And then the next part is, when do we think Dinosaur is going to go down? They've said it'll be open for all of 2025, but do you think, they're going to get it done, kind of close it like basically a year from now, like kind of the same type of thing after the holidays? Or do you think it'll be a little later into 2026? Because keep in mind, they've said that the targeting opening it in 2027. So unless that gets pushed, the longer they leave Dinosaur open, the less time they have for the transition to Indy.
So typically, I'm trying to think, almost all attraction. Well, let's see. Let's go back. So Guardians was open Memorial Day. Tiana's was open in July. When did Tron open? Was that late summer? I'm trying to remember. Somebody in chat help me out.
I don't remember.
But like, I don't think was it Rise opening, or no? Falcon opened towards the end of the year, and then Rise came later on the following year, right? I think didn't Rise open like fall of 2019?
Well, Galaxy's Edge opened in the fall of 2019, and then Rise didn't open until, I think it was right after the New Year or something like that, right? Because it was. And I remember we were planning a trip for February.
And then Mickey and Minnie's opened in March, right before it closed. So I guess there's really no trend of what time they want to open up attractions. That's what I was getting at. So I think – I'm trying to think, when is because your next question is Tropical America's opening, right?
Yeah, so and I'm assuming we both think that they're going to open up the whole land at once. It's
yes.
not like they're going to open up yet. Yeah.
For sure.
So the big thing is, when do we think Dinosaur is going to close, and when do we think the whole land will open?
My long rambling was going for was, I think Dinosaur closes 14 months prior to the opening of the whole land. So I think they need 14 months to convert it at this point.
Okay.
I could be completely wrong. Maybe they could do a lot of work beforehand, but because they're not retracking anything, and it's
the same ride. And they could be doing a lot of the set and stuff. I mean, they are talking about making it like the best version of the ride and stuff. And so,
but they could do all those sets right beforehand, and they're not. The building facade is a lot easier to do than Tiana's because it's not a lot of detail. It's just one big poof. It's a big building and put it up in 2 seconds. So let's just to kind of put on the chart. I think Tropical America's the whole land opens for the summer season, somewhere between probably May and August. So they're either getting it ready for the summer or they're going to get it ready for the fall. I think they would like it to be like Memorial Day 2027. So that means
That feels aggressive to me. I think it's going to be more of the fall.
It could be. But I think that's what they were going to try to push for, in my opinion. But so that means Dinosaur probably goes down just around this time next year, I think. So it'll be all of 2026 in the first 4 to 6 months of 2027. So that's what I think. I think it'll go down similar to how like Big Thunder one did, time wise. Yeah. So we'll get that announcement. Dinosaur is closing for the last time probably in like November of this year. Like get your last rides in. Even though they kind of said that, like, Dinosaur will be open for the rest of the 2026 or 2025, so you can have your time to go see it if you want to. But I think they'll announce the closure date like November-ish.
So for the family traveling in the July, so if your family goes every July, for July 2027, do you think Tropical Americas will be open?
I think there's a 60% chance it will be. Okay. Do you want a yes or no from me?
That was the hope.
I will say yes.
No.
I will say yes. I'll be optimistic. Yes? Okay. This world needs more hope and optimism, so I'll say yes. Matt helping out with the dates a little bit late, but yes, I think we got that right. Rise was
December 19th. I knew it was towards the kind of right around the new year, but I guess it did open.
I know
before the end of 19. But
yeah, okay, fair enough. Okay, so what's next?
The next is Monsters Inc.
Ooh.
So obviously the area that's taken over for Muppets Courtyard and Muppets Vision and that sort of thing, and kind of tied into that is when do we think Muppet Vision will close, and then when do we think Monsters Inc. will open, and then kind of related to that is Rock and Roller Coaster and stuff like that.
Okay, so let's do Monsters Inc. and Muppet Vision first. I think Muppet Vision is open for the rest of this year. I think we will get a 4 to 6 month heads up on Muppet Vision.
Yeah.
Because there was teased a little bit with in Len's show today where they're thinking that there's going to be a special ticketed event to say goodbye and all this other stuff. So Disney wants people plenty of time to put money in travel expenses to get down there to do it. So I think it'll be 4 to 6 months prior. So if we don't hear anything by July, August, September, it's definitely closing Q1 of 2026. And I think that
similar to when Dinosaur is closing.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, I think so too.
I think Monsters Inc. is opening probably. It's definitely not opening in 2026. I don't think it'll open in 2027 because I don't think they want to double up with Tropical America's opening.
Tropical America's is the big thing for 2027.
Yeah, so I think 2028 is the opening date for Monsters Inc. Land, whatever you want to call it.
I think first half, I'm not.
So July. So yes. So if they're down depends, right? So if that building starts going up by the end of this year, which they could because they're building it in the parking lot essentially. They don't have to close part of the park down for that.
Yeah, the new building. Yep.
I think 2028 July is a yes. If that building is not starting construction by the end of the year, I think that slips to more of a fall opening for Monsters Inc. in 2028. So the answer would be no. So I'll be pessimistic on this one, and I'll say no to July of 2028. I think that feels more of like a September fall offering.
I think because they haven't started construction yet, and it's a big.
I think that,
and like you said,
that's 2.5 years. I
think they're going to want you're going to want Tropical Americas to have at least a year on its own, right? That's the big pull. And if let's say it doesn't open for July 2027, that's going to be the big marketing thing for summer of 28 and all that sort of stuff. So
yeah, no, I think that's good. And Frank brings up this point that I see a lot is like, they say, well, Universal could open up a whole new park. I think it's easier to build a whole new park when you have just one giant construction zone, and it's harder to build something in a active theme park and parking lot too. So I think you have to give them a little bit more credit for that. And generally, Disney has a history of building all new lands in 2.5 to 3.5 years. So if you go back from Galaxy's Edge, Toy Story Land, Pandora, and I guess we can't really count New Fantasyland, but all those kind of took 3 years ish, give or take 4 or 5 months from that point to open up. So they're being consistent with that. The only outliers to Disney construction in the last half decade is the Epcot stuff and Tron because of Chapek and obviously the pandemic. So. Yeah, so I think Monsters, I think we're good on that one. Muppet Vision 2026. Do you think they announce it like just basically it's open up for the rest of the year and starting this time next year it closes down, or do you think it has legs further into 2026?
That's a big question I have for it, because are they going to try to close Rock and Roller Coaster earlier and get it transitioned to Muppets over so it's ready to go with Muppets when Muppet Vision closes, or are they going to wait on that?
I don't think one relies on the other, in my opinion. I think they both could be open at the same time. I think they could both be one being closed and the other one's forthcoming, right? So, I think they want Rock and Roller Coaster open for at least another year, just because it's been closed a lot in the last year and a half because of these refurbishments. Right. So I think Rock and Roller Coaster might go down this time next year, but I think the redo is only going to take like a 3 or 4 month overlay, because that inside of that building's relatively empty. There's not much. It's like you're changing the studio section out with a new video. And I think the biggest change is going to be the facade, because maybe they keep the guitar. I don't think they changed that, but maybe they put like Muppet car or something.
It a little bit and put like put something like, or put Dr. Teeth on it or something like that. Like, so I know Matt is saying he thinks Rock and Roller Coaster goes down first before Muppet.
I disagree. I think they want to keep that open for a while, especially with a lot of other stuff closing. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, if you're right though, and like it closes this time next year, now we're talking about. Big Thunder's still closed. They're closing, Muppet Vision. They're closing Dinosaur, and they're closing Rock and Roller Coaster all like this time next year.
I think I don't think they care so much because they're spread out across multiple parks. I think that's the only thing. I honestly don't think if they care if Muppet Vision and Rock and Roller Coaster are down at the same time. I think they can keep Muppet Vision open longer until they transition to Rock and Roller Coaster. I just don't think the transition from Rock and Roller Coaster is going to take that long. I really think they can do that, depending on how much they're doing on the outside, the exterior of the building. I think they can do that fairly quick, to be honest with you, because it's really not. There's nothing on the ride. They're probably changing the ride vehicle a little bit, all the queue, and the actual ride building can't be too much. It's just a bunch of neon signs in there, glow in the dark stuff.
So you think like Monsters and stuff like Muppet Vision could be open even 18 months?
Yeah, I don't think they know, right? I think they're going to play it by ear. They're going
that's what we're trying to figure out.
Right. So I mean, I think anything that we guess, I don't think they have a plan for it is right. So if we start thinking like if this goes down or this did, I think our logic really doesn't, work. So I think Muppet Vision probably is still open through January, February of next year, and then kind of closes going into 2026 spring break time. So open if we're doing this, I think if you go in July of 2025, it's open. Yes, July of 2026, I think it's closed at that point.
Okay, and then what about Rock and Roller Coaster?
I think Rock and Roller Coaster is going to be ready to go as Muppets summer of 2026. So I say yes on that one.
That seems like Rock and Roller Coaster will be open as Rock and Roller Coaster this summer.
Muppets.
And Muppets by next summer.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be optimistic and say if they take it down early 2026, they can have it up and going for summertime. Yeah. That's my point.
Okay. So maybe they both close, but then so for the summer or whatever, or the spring they're both closed, but then Rock and Roller Coaster's open for the summer.
Yeah, Music Life for me in chat is basically saying that all these announcements have a 5-year timeline. I think the Muppet Vision stuff and the Rock and Roller Coaster stuff are independent of all the D23 construction timelines. I think this was kind of like we're going to do this anyway type of thing. That's my opinion anyway.
Okay. And then so we don't think Monsters will be open until the fall of 2028. So if I go in July of 2028, I won't have Monsters to ride yet. It won't be until July.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I think we're looking at probably 2.5 years for that build.
Yeah.
Starting construction end of this year, beginning of next year, or let's say starting in Disney's Q1 this year, right? So 3 months plus a year plus another 8 months. That puts us right around September of 2027, or no, 2028, right? I don't know. Yeah. I can't do math in my head. But no, they're definitely not open in 27. 28's the month. I think it'll be late 2028.
So in the last two areas, it's all for the Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer Island, and then the first part to reopen is Cars Land, and then Villains Land is the new part that's being out. So nothing has to close for that necessarily. So when do we think Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer Island will close?
I think that starts closing.
Do you think it'll be open for your trip in July?
Yes. If you asked me that 4 months ago, I would say no, but I think it will be. Then again, actually, I think it will be. However, I think if Tiana's can maintain, if Tiana's goes to standby and can maintain reliability in that section of the park, I think that is a foreshadowing of the closure of Rivers of America. However, if Tiana stays on virtual queue with Test Track closed, Big Thunder closed, I think they're going to want something over there to draw people in because people aren't going over there for Tiana's unless they have a boarding group, and they're not going to Big Thunder at all. And so the only draw to that whole area is Haunted Mansion, and you could probably sneak in from Fantasyland. So all those shops are going to get hurt, right? Yeah. So I think it heavily relies on Tiana is going to say, like, if Tiana's can goes to standby and then stays good on that for maybe 2-ish months, I think then Rivers of America and everything else can be maybe 3 or 4 months out before that closes. So that's kind of what I expect to see as a progression. So now you're asking me the question, is it going to be open for my trip in July of 2020 this year in 2025? I think so. Yes, I think that's going to get pushed out. But then after that, no. I think it does close sometime this year. But I think I got pushed out a little bit.
Second half this year.
Yeah, because I think the permits are slowing down a little bit, right? So they don't even have the laydown yards for that and all this other stuff. So they have to do a lot of. Remember, they have to do a lot.
I also see them wanting to keep it open in the summer when parks are open later and people have more time to send the kids running around there and stuff, versus in the winter when it's a little cooler. Do you really want to be on the riverboat and things like that?
So here, they're actually, I want to take back my statement about Tiana's because I think a lot of other stuff is going to happen that's going to foreshadow this completely, right? So they have in the permitting, prior to the permit for Cars Land, they need to bulldoze a whole bunch of trees right outside of Magic Kingdom in that quadrant of the park for a laydown yard. That's where all the supplies and everything else are going to go. That's not even started yet. They got to finish the construction of the highway back there, that extension that they're doing. That's got to get finished. The laydown yards got to go, and then they got to build all the retaining and water management systems that are going to go back there. They haven't even started on any of that stuff yet. So before they start diverting all of that water, they need to have the water management system stuff done. So I think that construction has to start. That stuff can get done relatively quickly because you're just constructing, basically just you're bulldozing parts of the ground and then you're putting gravel and cement, right? So it's not hard work, but it takes time. And I don't think they can drain the river until all that stuff is done. To be honest with you, unless because I know they've drained it before. I don't know how long they can keep it drained without doing any water management, right?
Keep it trained and do what work they can do, what they can, and stuff like that.
So
okay,
I mean,
so let's say they close it later this year.
Okay.
How long do you think the construction for Cars Land will take? Keep in mind, we said
3 years.
Inc. is going to open second half of 2028, so we're looking second half of 29.
Yeah. So if let's say if we're going to say it closes in late 2025. I think because there's a lot of water management stuff, we're going to add a half a month. So let's say 42 months, so 3.5 years. So at 2025, go to 2028 into somewhere in halfway through 2029, like summer 29 maybe.
Okay, so going back to my July date. If you have a family trip in July 29,
I think there's a good chance you'll see Cars Land in July of 29, in my opinion. Okay, because that's 3 years, right? From closure?
So it depends when it closes. If it closes later this year, second half, it'd be 3 years would be after that.
Yeah, I think there's an upside chance that mid 2029 you're gonna get it. So I would say yes on that because I think they're gonna want to push that quickly. Because especially if there's a giant hole in the middle of Magic Kingdom like that. It's not like Tron where it's kind of behind, the Speedway and stuff like that where you can kind of hide it. This is going to be like an eyesore in the middle of the park, and I think they're going to want to get it done fast. So it might even be done quicker.
Well, and then what about Villains Land? So maybe it's
your chart is not even long enough for that because you only go up to 2030.
Right. Well, because they said 5 years, and that brings us that's 2029.
I don't think Villains Land is going to be within 5 years. I think Villains Land is like a 2031 thing, in my opinion. I think that gets pushed because of everything else.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I was wondering what you were going to say because that was what I was going to say too. I think that's, even though they said that, I don't think it'll be. I think that'll get pushed.
Honestly, I think
it'll get pushed to 2030.
I think people are misconstruing what he said. I don't think he said Villains Land was going to be complete within 5 years. I think what he was referring to was projects were going to get started within the next 5 years. And I know that Cars Land has a super fast timeline, but I don't think Villains is still kind of. I don't even think they know what they're doing with it yet. To be honest, I think they have a lot of ideas. I don't think anything's solidified, obviously, because I think they have to get Cars Land going and see what the infrastructure looks like to put buildings back there. Right? I think a lot of that stuff is being juggled around at WDI. I think. So I don't think we see that this decade, to be honest with you.
I think we have to see. I mean, I think because I feel like they clarified afterwards and they did include Villains Land in that, but I don't know. I think
maybe
we'll see. And who knows?
Surprise me, please.
A lot can change. Yeah, I mean, that would be great if it was, but it's part of me also doesn't want them to rush it, right? They got to do Villains Land right. I'd rather them take an extra year and it's awesome than open it, a little quicker.
So for chat, I think it's Cars Land 29, Villains Land 31. I think there's going to be a 2-year gap in there. Or sorry, there's a 1-year gap in between openings, I should say.
Okay.
So
I think it might be like 18 months where you get
possible, yep,
or something like that, where it could sneak into 2030.
Right, so like latter half of 29 opening for Cars Land, or Cars Land opening early 29, and then Villains Land opening late 30. That's a year and a half. That's 18 months or so. Yep, I can see that. But it all depends on how fast they choose to move with cars. Because if they really want to move fast, it's not an extensive rebuild, right? It's one show building.
Well, it's all the infrastructure, the hard stuff.
So if that's not hard. That's not hard to do because that's just manpower, right? It's bulldozing, building, and all this other stuff. So if they want to throw people and money at it, they can get that stuff done pretty quickly. It depends if they want to do that.
To finalize because it's a new ride vehicle and stuff like that. That's going to be a lot of testing. I mean, obviously they could do it within 3 years, but it's.
I think there's a chance that they could do it quickly. This is all highly dependent on who the new CEO is going to be and what he chooses to do.
Yeah,
I think we have to move on because we're 47 minutes into the show.
All right, so maybe I'll put out this chart into Discord and on social media and stuff like that.
Yeah,
kind of.
I like that.
See what people react to that and stuff like that rather than go for it. Okay, 47 minutes. Let's skip and we'll probably can go a little quick through our top 3, bottom 3 World Showcase pavilions. So in this, you have to indicate based on however you rank the pavilions, what's most important to you. And one thing is we're not going to count the Africa outpost because that's
that doesn't
like
count.
Full pavilion and stuff like that. So you have Mexico, Norway, China, Germany, Italy, the United States, Japan, Morocco, France, United Kingdom, and Canada. And before we get started, just we haven't done a DBC recommends in a bit, but when I was researching some of this, I came across a really good page on WDW Prep School where they have all the different countries and they give an overview of everything, kind of what there is to do in each of them. It has a map for a super detailed map on where even the penny press machines are and everything. And then one thing that I thought was really cool, they have these what they call checklists. And it's kind of like activities to do in each pavilion. So it seemed like a really neat thing to kind of print out when you have kids.
Yeah.
And it's kind of saying go see this, go to the hedge maze in there and things like that. So just a shout out to them. And I'll tweet out the link and that'll be in the show notes and stuff like that. But if you're looking for it struck me, especially if you have kids and you're trying to make the World Showcase a little bit more interesting. It seemed really good. But
so how
do you want to do it the same way as we did it last time, where we went one by one with our best, or do you want to?
Yeah, I like that format. But how are we? Are we just doing our personal opinion just based on vibes? Are we kind of ranking it as touring strategy? How are we? Are we judging this a specific way or just our personal preference?
I think it's more your personal preference of if you had to rank them. And I mean, I'll give you my criteria was. Obviously, the theming and stuff like that, but it's how engaging they are. How much do I want to engage with the lands? How much do I want to spend time in there?
Okay.
Obviously, if it has an attraction, that helps, but it doesn't have to have an attraction. But it's got to have things that are going to want to make me go and explore and spend time in the pavilion. That's kind of how I judged it.
Okay. Would you like to go first? I think I went first last week.
Sure. So for my top three, my first one that came to me was the Mexico Pavilion.
Well, let's go. Okay, yeah, you go top three because I was going to say let's go back and forth, but that doesn't really make sense. Go ahead.
Do you
Sorry.
want me to do all three?
All three of them. Yeah.
Mexico. So I love that it's in like most of it's kind of in a building, so it kind of feels very like separated and kind of in its own place. Has an attraction. Love La Cava. Overall good dining and stuff like that. So that's my top one. France. Obviously it has great. Remy is great. Impressions to France is good. Really good food, and I like that it has kind of different levels of food. It has like the crepes, which are on the cheaper end, all the way up to Monsieur Paul and stuff like that. They also have like the gelato store and stuff. So there's a lot of variety there, and it's I love, especially now with the back area, kind of makes you explore.
Yep.
And the last one in my top three is Japan. I love the theming in there. I love there's kind of like backwater area, or back paths that have like water flowing and stuff. It has things like the drummers. It has the Mitsukoshi department store, and has a similar thing. It has a lot of really good food options, but also different kind of price levels to the food and the sushi stands, and it's a good place to see the fireworks and stuff like that. So my top three are Mexico, France, and Japan.
So my top two are similar to yours. Like I love the Mexico Pavilion because our family really likes Mexican food, so we always go to the quick service there. Love the old school ride, even though my wife just laughs at it because it's just basically as it's supposed to be, an ad for Mexico with some screens. But more importantly, got to stop for the margarita there. It's really great. I love France for similar reasons. Remy is one of my favorite rides. I love just the vibes in there. They did a really good job capturing Paris. I love the music. The food is really, La Halle is like one of my favorite places to go to get a snack. In all of property, I put it like right beneath Satuli, and sometimes you could convince me to swap those two around. But my third one is kind of tough. I mean, it kind of changes. So like Germany could be my third, but only during the Festival of the Holidays because I really like the live music they have during there. But outside of that, when some of you don't have those musical talents going, it's kind of bland for me. So if that's not going on, it's Morocco because I like the food. I love walking the pavilion because it's quiet back there and it's really nice. Hopefully they open up the restaurant back there. As I'll go first with my bottom three because your top three, Japan, is in my bottom three. The reason for this is more of an annoyance than anything else. I think it's a beautiful area. I love the food in there. However, I have a love-hate relationship with that shop that they have back there because I love going in and looking around, but I hate overstaying in there. And of course, with 3 young children, they wanted to see all the different tchotchkes. My wife likes shopping for like, I get a little present for this person, a little here, and we end up with a bunch of like touristy like junk that comes out there. It's not even Disney related. It's just like
it does feel like you're spending a lot of money on stuff that's not Disney when you're at Disney.
So I dislike it for that, and just because of my wallet gets a little bit more empty at that point. And the kid's like, "What? Can I get this? Can I get this? Can I get this?" So if I could go in there and just spend like 10-ish minutes wandering around and kind of looking at things, I like that. But we end up spending like 40 minutes in there, and I'm like, can we go? I need more food at the food booths. Let's go. So that kind of, I kind of dislike that quite a bit. I don't like the American Pavilion, only because I think they need more offerings in there. I love the show, but every time I seem to go, the show seems to be down. I would love a better schedule for like the Voices of Liberty because they're really awesome. And every time I seem to go there, I'm waiting too long for it. Maybe I'm just terrible at following the schedule. I think the Regal Eagle is really good, and that side of the pavilion is awesome. But the other side during the Festival of the Holidays, it just seems like kind of lacking. So I really wish they spruce up on the right side of that pavilion. Again, I love all of the pavilions, right? So this is grading on a scale.
I have that note on there. It's like, first of all, none of them are bad.
No.
It's just like
I do enjoy my time at all of these, right? But we had to rank my bottom 3 here. And the other one is just the United Kingdom. It's a wonderful pavilion. I love meeting Alice and doing all this other stuff. But it's just the crowd levels, right? Like I love going into the restaurant there. We ate there 2 years ago, but it's just so crowded. I'd love to be belly up to the bar in there, but it's just so crowded. And at least in my experience, maybe I go in the wrong times of the year to with it. But those are my bottom 3, and it's mostly crowd levels and stuff like that type of thing. Well, what about you?
Okay, so my bottom 3 in this is probably also going to have some more spicy takes and responses. And I see some people putting in there their thoughts into chat, so maybe we'll do some immediate DBC engagement afterwards. But
okay.
So my bottom three is number one is Germany. I just feel like there's not as much to do and explore there other than a couple of the shops. And we were a little disappointed when we ate in Biergarten, other than the band. But the food was like, eh. The beers are okay, but I can get better beers elsewhere. I think it's
disappointing because there's supposed to be a river ride in there, and I really want to see that.
I think that might be part of it. I think it's just all, and I'm from German descent, so I'm like, maybe I'm judging it harshly.
Yeah.
But it's like I want it to be more than it is. And for similar reasons, I put China in that one too. I think it's a beautiful pavilion. The outside looks great, but there's not as much to do there. There's like, you can go in and look at some like almost like museum type pieces. You can meet Mulan, which is nice, but it's like the food's okay, nothing special. And it's just another one that I wish there was more to it. And I know they talked about like redoing the movie, but who knows and stuff.
Here's my prediction for D23 2030 or 2028 2030, right? So we're going to talk about the back half of the 10 years of building, right? So this is the next big thing. So Epcot's going to get a turn because Remy came. When did Remy come out? That was 2019 also for Remy? No, when did Remy open? Oh my goodness, I can't remember. Anyway, Remy will be right around 10 years old at that point, right? In 2030. I think the next part of Epcot that's going to get a boost is the World Showcase, right? So not counting.
Right. It opened October 1st, 2021. So it was like for the 50th it opened.
Right. So I think by early 2030s, we're going to get a new pavilion. We're not going to talk about that now. But I think they're going to expand Germany and add a ride in there. And I think Italy should also get a ride back there too, because it's such a gorgeous, gorgeous pavilion. But there's really not much to it unless you have the lovers for Via Napoli, which I'm not eating Italian food in Florida in Disney World, so that's just me.
And the
sorry,
the
I cut you off there. I'm sorry.
That's all right. No. And my last one, I was debating between Canada and this one, but Canada won out because I like the beer there and it has a full like high-end table service restaurant. I went for Morocco. It was painful for me to put because I like the wandering and getting lost in the back. And I also really like Spice Road Table, but I think Restaurant Marrakesh still being down.
Yeah, it hurts.
And it also feels like since Disney took it over, it's losing a little of its authenticity.
The ugly tile work. We got to bring that up, right?
Which in it of itself isn't like that big of a thing, but it just kind of detracts a little bit from what it was. And it just feels like one we skip more often than not. So
Fair.
My bottom three are Germany, China, and Morocco, which I know is going to make Frank 22 not happy.
Well, let's see who was wrong in chat with their guesses. Frank was going England, Italy, Germany as his top, which I could see. Right, those are really like England is going off the hook at some of these festivals with all the bands that are playing back there. It's a party back there. You have the bands,
you have multiple characters. Rose and Crown is great. It was closer to my top three than bottom three, but it just did.
Imagine if it had Cherry Lane back there.
I know
that would probably be number one. Yeah,
exactly.
Right, it'll rival the France Pavilion. What did Matt say? Matt was about to do his bottom, but he didn't. He didn't put about. He said France, Mexico, Canada.
Music Life for me, so the UK, Japan, and Canada. Frank's bottom is Norway, China, and Canada. So Canada is definitely divisive. It's a number of tops and a number of bottoms.
No one is saying the US, the American Pavilion, at all. Because it's kind of boring, right?
It's a tough one to rank because I love the American Adventure, the show, and I love Voices of Liberty. But if like those things weren't like, let's say they were both down. Yeah, there's like not much else, right?
Right, but there's no depth to that, right? That's just like here is a colonial, facade. Eat here, please.
The show building for American Adventure is so huge; it just takes up the whole area. So a lot of people don't even do that, and if you're not doing that,
you just walk past it, right?
Else. Yeah, exactly.
And it's also like hidden behind the performance stage there, kind of. I always forget what it's called.
The American Garden Theater.
Yeah. So like, if you're coming in from the World Showcase from the other side, not that it's hiding it, but it's like it's distracting when you're over there too. So like for like first or second time guests, you might end up walking past it because all you see is a big giant bar in front of a Regal Eagle. So we'll see. But yeah, okay. We did DBC engagement this week, didn't we?
We did, yeah. So it was our DBC, the official DBC engagement was.
Official one.
Are you planning on taking advantage of the announced discounts? Because we talked about the discounts last time, the room only or the free dining, or the arrival of the water park perk. And also, first, apologies to LHA Conway for pronouncing her username as Iha Conway. That was very wrong. So
very, very
make
wrong.
Sure I get that correct.
This is now her podcast. She can have it for a week in reparation.
She just got back from down and back with her son, and she said it was great. So we love those things.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
I guess I can go real quick.
Yeah, shut them out.
Using the room only discount when I go down with my daughter Emma. We booked Pop for 20% off, which still brings it down to $180 a night, which isn't too bad for on site. And we are planning to use the Arrival Water Park, but some of that'll depend on no delays getting in and stuff like that. But we are hoping to use it. And as I mentioned, when I go with my wife in August, we are going to use the Water Park perk where we transfer.
Who's saying this?
From you? What?
Whose engagement response was this?
This is mine.
Oh, this is yours. Oh, I'm sorry. Gosh. Oh, you didn't say. I'm looking at like the first one, TL Matt. I'm like, he didn't write any of this.
No,
okay,
no,
I'm sorry,
I
Phil.
said I would go with mine quick because I knew mine had.
I
been
am not
ready for
listening.
years.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
Apologies. Go ahead.
So I'm doing the room only one at Pop for one trip, and then for the parents trip in August, we'll do the water park perk. We our room is booked using the Destination D23 event rate at Coronado, which is better than the other discounts that are out now. So that's what our room price is.
Okay. I mean, I talk about mine in the start of the show, so we're definitely taking advantage of that.
And last year that you're doing the free dining and stuff like that. So community ones, TL Madden said he doesn't plan on taking advantage of the discounts because they're staying off property. But the promotions, he just kind of said they're not drawing him in like they used to. I guess it's just maybe when you didn't go as often or whatever, it felt like the discounts were more meaningful and the perks were for more room. It said on the water park one, he's, I think, changing a little bit too. Like the more people talk about it, he might kind of do what you're doing, drive down and stay somewhere, maybe partway down or closer to it, and then do the water park on arrival day because he wants to just see the theming of the water parks. He's not really a swimmer.
I just want to put it out there because he said like none of the other deals like entice him at all. I keep seeing this. He's still in this day and age where they're like the dining plan doesn't make sense financially. How can you turn away the rack rate discount? And I don't know how many of everybody else that's out there that's paying cash for cash deluxe rooms. That's $800 a night, where that discount is, it could be anywhere from like $200 a night, $100 a night. Vast majority of people, if you have 4 people in your room, I'm going to say this until I'm blue in the face. Look at the math for the quick service dining plan. It could save you $100 to $200 a night. And 20% off a $200 room is only $40, right? $40 is still $40, but compared to a couple meals at a quick service location,
as long as that lines up with how you want to do your dining, or if we're looking to the upgrading to the table service, that's what you want to do. You got to do the math, but
well, I mean, like
dismiss it.
A $25 or 25% or a 30% discount on a $300 room, which is an average for a moderate, right? That's going to net you $90. Even if the dining plan, even if you don't eat that, like whatever, but the quick service dining plan, that alone for a single person getting 2 meals with a drink is going to be, even if you drink, let's say you even drink a beer, that has like a $30 value. So that's $60 a day. Because if you could drink a beer and have some chicken fingers and fries twice a day, you're looking at roughly around $50 for a day. Are you saving $50 on your room? If you have 2 people, you definitely are saving more than a 30% discount. If you're staying by yourself, I think that's the only time you just don't consider it whatsoever. Right. So anyway, I'm going to say that forever, Phil, and I'm going to annoy everybody, but it's a passion argument of mine.
Yeah. So Mama Six said they're staying on DVC points, so not likely to use any of the discounts. However, if Disney introduced a ticket-only deal, they would love that. Some sort of ticket discount or buy 2 tickets, get 2 days free or something like that, but we haven't seen that yet. We'll see what happens in the summer. Sometimes they have those, 1 day at each park type, reduced rate.
I think they'll have that this summer because I think they didn't. You took advantage of it last year. I don't think they announced it until like April-ish or so last year, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, we just hadn't gotten our tickets yet, and we were only going to do like 2 days or something like that, and then when they announced that, we did more.
Yep.
And they said that we have convinced them to try to use the free water park on arrival day. So they'll see how they're doing. It might be a long travel day and then they just won't go, but they're going to try to take advantage of it. Ryan W says not planning on taking care of the water parks, even though the flights land early. They just will go to Disney Springs or whatever they want to check out.
I can understand that.
Restaurant. Yeah, that's a lot. Like you mentioned it earlier, that's a tradition for a lot of people, right? To do the Disney Springs.
And I believe he has some young ones, and it's really difficult to like get the kids all dressed up in a bathroom and get them over there and all this. Like I wouldn't do it if I was arriving. I would still like if my family was arriving by plane. I would still consider it because my kids are old enough to go get themselves dressed in the bathroom, that sort of thing. But if I had like preschoolers and younger, it's like, no, I'm not. I want to go and lay down somewhere, type of thing. So I get that.
Yep. And then lastly, Weezy said they're taking advantage of his trip. He's got an AP discount room at Coronado, and they booked 2 rooms, saving up to 30% there. And they are flying in from Denver, so it's hard. And that he did make a good point. People coming from the West Coast, it's really probably hard. Yeah. Because you lose the time change. Really works against you there. So unless you're doing that coming in the night before, it's pretty hard to take advantage of. It's a 6 a.m. flight, so realistically they can get in at noonish early. So unless you only want to go for a couple hours, it's going to be tough. And did want to send out a congratulations to Wheezy, who just took on as a side gig being a travel agent for Disney and other things. And for his travel agency, he was in the top 10 sellers.
He's killing it
for December. So I put there, not bad for a side gig. So good job.
And I wore the shirt that he was able to pick up for me in support of his excellent achievement.
So that was it.
Well, that was it. What's next week? What's next week?
Next week, this was a suggestion after some people started talking about some poor dining experiences they had at Disney. Thought we'd have this as our DBC engagement. What is the worst dining experience?
Worst dining experience at any place at Disney.
I'm getting all choked up about it.
Worst dining experience at Disney or any place you will never. Or are there any other places you will never return on property? Let's keep these stories. We can't keep them positive because they're the worst dining experiences, but let's try to keep it to the point where like the food or the crowds. I'd rather not tell any bad stories about like individual cast members that might have done something because you never know if somebody's having a bad day or anything else like that. But let's go over food, cleanliness, couldn't get reservations, something other guests did that was, disturbing or something, anything else like that. I just don't want to go after service. I have a special place in my heart for all wait staff as I've been one in my past. So I don't want to try to call people out personally like that unless it's hilarious and it was just like a goofy thing where something happened. I don't know. Let's keep it as clean as possible, I suppose. Maybe if that's possible. I don't know. Anything else today, Phil? Anything else that we forgot today?
No, I think I hit on all the extra things. So, I think we'll go from there.
All right, I want to say thank you for everybody for watching live. This always goes, if you ever want to watch the live broadcast, it goes into the I don't know. There's a separate tab for it on YouTube. You can watch that. But I also publish it with a little bit better video quality on Phil's side on the produced version of it. We will, if we're going to keep doing this, and I want to thank chat for engaging all throughout the show. So if you're listening to this, we are talking to folks. So as our audience builds on a live platform, if there's a call for it, we'll hang out after the show. So this live broadcast will be extended potentially, but we have to have the demand for that. So anyway, thank you for watching and listening, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
Take care, everyone.